Chapter 8. Holding on. I don't think I was there long before the others found me, thank goodness. My vision was blurred, but I was aware of Jack crouching next to me. I could hear his voice, frantic and loud over the buzzing in my head. He was asking what happened as he gathered me into his arms and shouted up the stairs before I could answer. I tried to form words to explain, but my response was slurred beyond recognition. Jack stood, carrying me back up to Cordis, jostling through others who had gathered at the top of the stairs. His voice grew angry as he demanded to know how I got down there, what I was doing, and where were the people keeping watch. Interesting. My head, still screaming with pain, lolled against his shoulder and chest. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I hoped I wasn't hurting him. But at the forefront was the need to warn them. To tell them someone was there in the ruins, watching, calling people to him. Oh, hi, Celeste. I think that's a new outfit for you. I tried to speak as they bundled me into blankets and Celeste appeared. I could see her face hovering above me, haloed by the lights. I squinted up at her and tried to speak again. Attacked. Watching. Not the clearest message, but it was the best I could manage. She was speaking, but her voice had thinned to an echoing whine. I couldn't make out much of what she said. I heard the phrase mind bomb, and Jack was carrying me upstairs. My head hurt so bad, but I was semi-conscious for much of Celeste's treatment. Her voice became clearer as soon as she started repairing the damage, to the point I realized she was saying there was less than she expected. At least the shield had worked, somewhat. My head still felt like it was going to split. It was a particular joy when Jack started shouting again, from far too close to my ears. I was already fading when he jumped to his feet, but I was certain he was going out again, going to find that man. Have to stop him. I reached a hand out and someone took it, telling me to relax. It was Celeste. But no, I couldn't. I couldn't let him go. I struggled up to my elbows, ignoring her as she tried to push me back down. Through the headache, I stretched out my sigh, caging the door within it and slamming it shut. You're not going nowhere.
Morgan!
I held it there, still trying to fend off Celeste's hands. Damn it, Morgan! Stop it!
Can't... go.
Celeste pinned a death glare on Jack. Get your ass over here and stop stressing her out. If you care about her at all, calm her down so she doesn't overexert herself while I'm trying to heal her. She needs to be recovering, not using her Psi to stop your tantrum. You tell him, girl. Jack was at my side seconds later, taking my hand and saying my name. Satisfied, I went limp again, squeezing my eyes shut against the now throbbing headache. Jack leaned over, his head next to mine as he promised to stay in a voice soft and apologetic. And, gripping his hand as tight as I could so he couldn't escape, at last I let myself sink into unconsciousness. I woke abruptly from what I thought was a bad dream. The details faded from my mind in an instant. Groggy, I stared at an expanse of throat I realized belonged to Jack. He was stretched out beside me, and I was clinging to him in an almost hilarious way, as if afraid he was going to escape. I buried my face against him again, grimacing as I checked the time. It seemed like it had only been a few hours. I had no idea what time I'd awakened in the ruins, but it was still pretty early in the morning, so I couldn't have slept long. My head was better, but the pain was still pretty vicious. Jack either hadn't been asleep, or he'd only been dozing. As soon as I moved, he shifted to look down at me with concern.
Morgan, you're awake.
Unfortunately. My voice was muffled by his shirt, but he didn't laugh like he would have under normal circumstances. His voice was still concerned as he moved my hair out of my eyes.
Still in a lot of pain?
It's not as bad as it was at first. Feels like someone is squeezing my eyeballs.
You're lucky that's all you're dealing with right now, Morgan. If you were anyone else, you wouldn't even be conscious yet. You must have had up a hell of a mental shield when you hit that mind bomb. Cell was impressed.
Well, I try. It's not like it was my method. Rather, it was Sylvia's. I wonder if she knew I'd encounter something like that. You know, I wouldn't rule anything out with that girl. It was difficult to guess just how much she predicted. Her journal didn't mention any of this. It had a quiet air of prediction without revealing any particulars. Jack moved a little further away from me, setting the backs of his fingers against my cheek. His expression was one of uncharacteristic seriousness, which I suppose was understandable.
Morgan, what the hell happened?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
You let out a mental scream loud enough to rouse everyone on the block, I hope you realize. I've never heard or felt anything like that.
I did that? I didn't even know something like that was possible. Sorry. I panicked, I guess. The, mind bomb was intense.
What the hell were you doing down in the ruins?
I don't remember how I got down there. I was dreaming. Or I thought I was, anyway. There were lights in the dream, and a voice that was calling me. A shadow ahead of me. I thought it was you at first. I was following you in the dream. But I had the sense of another presence as well. Like someone invading my mind. Then all of a sudden, I was standing in the ruins, and the lights, the voice, and everything faded. I rubbed at the center of my forehead, wishing I could rub away that pain. At first, I thought it was a dream, but that wasn't a dream. Not a proper one. I think I was at least partially conscious. And that thread of light I saw, I think that was Psi energy. Like someone using Psi to lure me down there.
Using Psi to...
I'm not sure how I broke away. As soon as I was awake, or free, or whatever, I backtracked to the storage area by the stairs. I probably should have just come upstairs and got help. But it was like there was someone down there with me. Not just in my head, it felt like a physical presence. I thought I'd look for them, to see if I could sense something more tangible. I put up the shield based on Sylvia's advice in the journal because I remembered what happened to Tara. When I expanded my sphere is when I hit that mind bomb.
I hope you know that was a stupid risk. There was no guarantee a shield would block it, and it didn't. Not entirely. But I'm going to reserve the full lecture for when you recover.
He was silent a beat.
Did you learn anything about that asshole?
I smiled against his chest because that was very like him. Nothing concrete, I hate to admit. It has to be the same as what happened to Tara. There was an intense awareness of someone being there with me, watching all of us. An image of eyes all around me. And this very pervasive thought that he was watching. I don't know who he is, but in that moment, I was certain I did. This is a new look on Jack's face. It was odd, and it was terrifying.
When I find this bastard...
I buried my face into his chest, wincing at the sudden loudness of his voice.
Sorry. I'm sorry. You don't need to hear me rant right now.
He pulled me close, securing me against the curve of his body. I let myself relax into him.
When I thought I was going to lose you, I'm sorry, Morgan. Please don't scare me like that. Please.
His voice was soft and so broken. I snuggled in closer, realizing he was shaking. I guess you know how I feel now. Wow. Not the time. Always affectionate. I'm sorry for scaring you. I understood the exact thing he was feeling. I remember my terror when Rowan dragged him into Cordis, beaten up and bloody. I had lived through that horrifying realization that I could lose a person I cared for, and I hated that I inflicted that on him after telling him how he needed to stop taking risks.
It's not your fault, especially if someone was luring you away somehow.
I just wish I'd come straight back up instead of trying to look for him. It was a stupid risk.
But an understandable one. We all want to find this guy.
You just told me you're going to lecture me later, and now you're defending my actions? He smiled and pulled my head against his chest, setting his chin against the top.
I'm the only one allowed to tell you off. I have to defend you when anyone else does it. Even you.
That seems unfair.
Consider it your punishment.
Jack, do you understand the point of a punishment? He let out a soft chuckle, but the tremor was still there when he released a breath a moment later. His arms tightened just enough to be noticeable.
We're going to find this guy, and we're going to make him stop.
I know. Or at least I hoped that would be true.
For now, you should get some more sleep. It's still ridiculously early in the morning, and you need some recovery time after that mind bomb.
You should sleep too.
I'll try.
I shut my eyes and drifted off to the sound of his heartbeat. The next time I woke, it was the middle of the day, and Jack was gone. For a moment, I lay still and stared at the empty spot beside me before I reached over to touch the pillow. It was cold. So he hadn't just gone to the toilet or something. Sitting up as slow as possible, I waited to see if the movement would make my eye feel like it was trying to explode out of the socket again. But no. No headache, only faint fuzziness. Celeste would want me to stay in bed, but I was hungry. And I wanted to know where Jack was. That was what really prompted me to get up and get dressed as fast as my fuzzy head would let me. I was almost surprised to find no one in the hall outside. All things considered, I sort of expected someone to be keeping an eye on me just in case. Curious, I made it to the lobby before anyone saw me. Surprising, given how slow I was moving. Things down there were busy, to say the least. I guess it was to be expected if I mentally screamed so loud everyone heard me, as Jack said I did. It meant no one was unaware what happened. Carrie was the one who noticed me first and came my way, demanding I explain why I was up.
Everyone is on edge with what happened. Even if you're feeling better, it might be best to stay out of sight.
If everyone is worried, isn't it more reassuring to get up and show them I'm fine?
Morgan, you...
She wasn't convinced by that and launched into a lecture I tuned out. Instead, I looked around the room and caught sight of someone surprising lurking at the edges. Rory? Though he wasn't interacting or engaging with others, he was still at least out and watching what was going on. I guess he felt that scream as well.
Morgan, are you listening to me?
I let out an exhausted sigh. Carrie, I won't stay in hiding. Jack was gone when I woke up, and I'm hungry.
You could have sent me or Celeste a message.
I didn't want to stay in bed.
Celeste said you weren't as bad off as Tara, but she wouldn't want you up yet.
I'm not planning to run a marathon or reorganize the storage rooms. I just wanted to be around people.
I understand that. But I hope you're prepared, because everyone has been going nuts since what happened earlier.
I think I can handle it.
Everyone is concerned. What happened has people on edge, that's all.
Look, do you know where Jack went? It seems like he left some time ago.
He got up a few hours ago and was pacing around like a caged animal. He went out about an hour and a half ago to patrol with Rowan. We were already stepping up our watches, but now everyone is keen to keep a close watch on who's coming in and out of this area. And Jack needed to blow off some steam. Taking his frustration out on troublemakers is an excellent method for it. He said he wouldn't leave this neighborhood.
He wasn't supposed to leave at all. He said he was going to stay with me. At this rate, we were going to get stuck in a cycle of terrifying each other with our injuries or something. I wasn't interested in that at all.
There was no way that was going to happen. Whoever's doing this dared to mess with you, of all people. And there's not much Jack can do about it. Do you have any idea how much it was eating at him that he slept through you getting up and wandering out of the room? I guess he couldn't sit still any longer. He wanted us to call him as soon as you were up.
That jerk said he wouldn't leave at all, though.
Awake, not up.
I almost flinched at the sound of Celeste's voice behind me. She didn't sound happy. Well, it so happens I'm both awake and up.
You shouldn't be either, especially not up. So why are you?
Because I was alone and hungry, and I didn't want to be either of those things. I wanted to find Jack, so here I am. I will sit and rest, but I don't want to be in bed. She looked like she was going to complain, but instead set a hand against my head with a frown. I could sense her sigh poking into me as she checked on my status. Do I get the all clear?
No, on principle. But I'm too damn tired to make you go lay down. So I guess we'll get you something to eat and you can tell us what the hell happened this morning.
Sounds good. I like this compromise.
Jack relayed some of that before he left, but the details were pretty sparse. I'm glad I'm hearing it straight from you now.
Speaking of him, weren't you supposed to tell him I was awake? I'm surprised he's not back yet.
Yeah, well, he wanted the chance to sneak back before you realized he was gone. I decided to deny him that chance.
That's... Okay, he kinda deserved it for leaving in the first place. I was betting Celeste also wasn't happy Jack was out there again already, even though he was more or less back to normal. She tried hard to get people to take care of themselves after all. I was certain she got tired of healing people all the time. Poor thing. And poor Jack. Poor everybody. Not that Celeste had a shred of pity for him.
Back to what you were saying, though. It sounds like it was terrifying.
I've never experienced anything like it.
I'm glad you're okay. I was worried.
I shot him a slight smile. It was the first thing he'd said after joining us earlier, something I was certain took a lot of courage. I asked him to stay, since this had to do with him as well, but he'd only been listening until now. I'm sorry I frightened everyone. I was panicking, but I didn't realize I would end up alerting all of Cordis about what happened.
Forget Cordis. Everyone on this block heard you.
I grimaced, not liking that I'd set so many people into full panic mode like that. But there wasn't much point to regretting it now.
I can't help but wonder if anything Morgan said sounds familiar, Rory. We know this guy is related to your situation as well.
He stared at the floor, shutting his eyes as he nodded.
It's definitely him. The staff there called him the Fisher King. I don't know why.
So he's a queen, but they called him the Fisher King. Is it because he uses the thread like a fishing line to fish espers in particularly? That's my working theory.
I can't say much about his abilities. There was just that one night when he escaped. He took control of many people then, but he couldn't hold on. That's how I got away.
That actually does sound a lot like a fishing analogy, now that the way Rory just said that whole thing just sounds like I was hooked, I was able to get away because he couldn't hold on to all the fish that he had caught.
Maybe that's why he went after you while you were sleeping. The unconscious mind is supposed to be a lot easier to manipulate. You said you thought he was a queen rank, but is it possible he's a king rank instead? Why else would they call him Fisher King?
I'm not sure a king could do the things he did.
He did destroy that lab, right?
The others helped.
You think he could be controlling people through the nanosystem?
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. All of us were silent at that sudden possibility.
The nanites can definitely control and bypass body functions, which is what he'd need for some of the things we've been seeing.
That would mean he's not in direct control of our bodies or our minds. But what about the mind bombs? That's not a king rank thing, is it?
We don't know for sure he's the one setting them up.
That's true, I guess. You know, if my theory about Sylvia being controlled by him is true, because she's a queen, she could probably set those up. She did set one up in her journal.
I think he is at least F-class, no matter what rank he might be classified as.
I can agree with that. In any case, Kesa is the one who'll figure out those details. Regardless of what his rank is, he's a problem. How the hell do we combat any of this? How do we stop someone who can control people this way? We try to strengthen the reverse cage in this area to see if it blocks him out. Regardless of the method, he is using Psi to do it. Just having people conveniently wander off under the influence of his Psi.
Do you think he's hiding in the ruins? That's where he was luring me to.
Could be. We can't use our Psi down there at all, but it seems like he's found a way.
What makes you say that?
He's been luring people away for weeks. I don't think it makes sense you were the first person he tried to have go through the ruins. It makes more sense to assume it's from down there the whole time. But he hasn't caused any issues for himself yet, including with that mind bomb. That's concentrated Psi energy. It should have caused a reaction, but it didn't. The ruins can be pretty inconsistent with how they respond to Psi. For weeks? I guess you have a point.
Rory, I understand it's hard to talk about, but can you think of what his motivation might be?
I don't know. When he controls you, really controls you, all you hear are his thoughts and commands. But after you woke me up, it became hard to remember the things I heard and saw at that time. I know he hates the ones who did this to us. More than anything.
Then why the hell is he attacking Espers? If he's pissed at someone, it's gotta be the Delphine government.
Attacking? Or gathering?
If this asshole is pulling some kind of stunt where he's going to take control of all Espers and turn them against normal humans or some bullshit plan like that, I'm going to personally punch him in his stupid face.
You may have to get in line. I think he's upset many people at this point. I just wish I had even a hint as to what he was trying to accomplish.
Finding that out is at the top of everyone's list right now. Well, well, look who's back.
Celeste let out a quiet snicker when Jack stopped right inside the entrance to the lobby, eyes going wide when he saw me. Rowan was right behind him. I pasted a smile on my face and waved. Welcome home, honey. I shouldn't have to say that, should I? He shot Celeste a poisonous glare. She grinned and stood.
Good luck with your dumbass.
He's the one you should wish good luck to.
I can't wait to see this.
Jack said something to Rowan before coming our way, his expression conflicted. The others retreated before he reached us, though Celeste looked amused.
Should you be up yet?
Oh, no. I'm not the one in trouble here. Should you be out beating people up yet?
I wasn't gone that long.
You said you were going to stay with me.
I'm not fighting about this.
I'm not fighting about it either. I was just asking a question.
You sound like you're pissed.
If you thought I wouldn't be, I doubt you'd have told the others to contact you as soon as I woke up.
I told them to contact me because I was worried.
Why are you being so defensive? I'm not mad at you. I asked a single question and stated a fact. He pinched the bridge of his nose and let out an exasperated sigh.
Oh, I'm going to change. We'll talk later.
He left me there and started up the stairs. I watched him until he reached the top flight, then rolled my eyes and followed him. Real mature, Jack! He was well ahead of me, so by the time I reached the room, the door was already shut. I tapped it twice, ignoring his gruff response as I pushed it open. And again, shirts off. That's 3 episodes in a row! I found him already stripped to the waist and tossing his shirt into the bathroom. Jack, what happened to your hands? He paused to glance at the top of his knuckles, and I moved closer. They were red, grazed, swollen. You really got into a fight.
It can barely be called that.
I caught his hand, glaring at him and pulling it closer to inspect it.
It's not a big deal. Just found some trouble.
Were you looking for it?
A little bit, yeah.
You said you'd be careful.
We were careful, but there were a few idiots causing trouble.
You can't beg me to stay safe, then go hurl yourself into danger in my stead.
I didn't even come close to hurling myself into danger, Morgan. Hey.
He stopped and slid his hand against my cheek.
I'm fine. Why do you look so worried?
I don't know. No one knows how to protect anyone from what's happening. I'm afraid of losing you, this, everyone. I keep thinking of 1,000 potential solutions and none of them seem viable.
Hey, you're supposed to be the optimist here.
I know, but... Jack, what if we can't stop him?
We will. This place doesn't look like much, but we've always pulled through before.
Jack, this is too big for me. And somehow I managed to get caught in it anyway.
No one is expecting you to solve this problem for us, Morgan.
But isn't that why you brought me here? Why Kesa wanted me here? Everyone made a big fuss because I'm a queen rank, and now I can't even...
That isn't why I want you here, Morgan. I'm not interested in Morgan the queen rank. That's not why I... That isn't why I'm worried about you. I just want you. I feel like I've always wanted you.
Wow. I'm not mad anymore. My breath caught in my throat when he said that.
Though I doubt I'm what you wanted.
Don't be so certain about that.
Oh? Didn't want some brilliant scientist type.
Well, I had one of those, and he dumped me.
I said a smart scientist type.
You get 10 brownie points for that, Jack. Get wrecked, Trent. He was pretty smart, I think.
Not if he dumped you.
I laughed, cheeks heating up because even if that was a cheesy line, I knew he meant it. Well, by that logic, even if you aren't a scientist, you're still smart, right?
I'm not sure about that.
You have all the qualities that count. That's what matters.
I don't know about that either. I'm pretty confident you're totally wasted on a guy like me.
So, should I pretend none of this ever happened?
Nope.
He drew me a little closer.
Even if you're wasted on me, I'm not letting you go. Never again. Whether it's that bastard who tried to lure you away or anybody else. I'm not letting them have you. Not because you're a queen, but because you're mine.
Dang. The lines in this route are so good. My goodness. My heart. He leaned and pressed his lips against mine in a brief kiss that surprised me, but only because it had taken him so long. Aw, no CG. Sadness.
I love you.
She's just silent, like, ah.
That's not quite the reaction I was hoping for, I hope you realize.
Heat flooded my face, and I looked away, suddenly powerless to meet his eyes.
I can't tell if this is a good reaction or a bad one.
It's good. I just wasn't expecting that. Jack laughed again and pulled me into a strong embrace.
I wanted to tell you now because, with everything happening, I don't want a single moment to slip by without you knowing.
Jack caught my face and tipped it up to him.
I love you.
He said it again before kissing me for the second time, this time with gentle firmness that spread melting heat through my body. I had not expected this. Not in this moment. But I didn't want it to stop. Oh. I guess warning for potential fun times ahead? I mean, I guess we are about halfway through the route. It might be time. Alright, well here we go. Potential. I wrapped my arms around his neck, fingers finding their way to his hair beneath the slow advance of his lips on mine. We separated, our eyes met, and the look on his face was soft and vulnerable, sad, longing, and full of hope. In one breathless moment, I pulled him close again and kissed him fiercely. It wasn't like me to rush in. It wasn't like me to not weigh consequences or want to wait. But where I ordinarily might have hesitated, I made a hasty decision of what I was going to do. Whether to comfort him or myself, I didn't know. Or care. We had so many other things to be worrying about now, but somehow, I wanted this moment. I wanted to think about the two of us and nothing else. My hands abandoned his hair and moved to his shoulders, then traced a deliberate path down his chest and torso. Jack sucked his breath in, the sound of it catching and shaking in his throat. The gasp flickered across my mouth before he caught me to him again, his hands firmly against my back. He whispered my name once against my lips. I flicked the tip of my tongue against his mouth, meeting his, then drawing back. I gave him a gentle nudge towards the bed. As soon as the edge of the mattress met the back of his thighs, he sat and dragged me to his lap. With one knee on either side of him, I cradled his face between my hands and captured his lips again, savoring the way his mouth moved against mine. Our lips clashed again and again until the faint taste of him lingered on my tongue. Jack had never struck me as weak, but somehow, in that moment he seemed brittle enough to break in my arms. He pulled away again, looking up at me with profound longing on his face.
Morgan,
He swallowed hard.
You positive you want to continue?
And the shirt just came off. I guess that's her answer. I answered first by reaching for the hem of my shirt and pulling it over my head, now wearing only the thin black camisole. Do I look like I want to stop? I tipped his face up and brushed another delicate kiss to his lips, then leaned down further to kiss the side of his throat. He tipped his head slightly to the side, a sharp exhale escaping. It might have been a soft laugh.
You never cease to amaze me.
I ran my tongue down the side of his neck to the hollow of his throat, pleased with the little catch in his breathing as I gingerly nipped his skin with my teeth. That got a breathy groan from him. He threaded his fingers through my hair and lowered himself back on the bed, taking me with him. Oh, hello. She gets to touch the peck. Go, girl, go. And now, with his bare torso beneath me, I could glide my hands over him, allowing fingertips to trace over all the scars I'd noticed so many times before. And I lowered my mouth to kiss them all. Jack's breathing hitched and hands tightened in my hair as I ran my tongue gently over one scar along his side. These physical scars were markers of former darkness and pain, but I couldn't help but wonder about the ones I couldn't see. It wasn't like I thought I could heal whatever pain still lingered from all his past losses. I just wanted to be sure I wasn't the source of more scars for him. My mouth traveled the firm muscles of his abdomen, feeling his breath become more and more jagged beneath me. A gratifying groan escaped him as he pressed up to my mouth. One of his hands pushed my head lower, a gesture that felt almost unconscious from the way he abruptly pulled his hand away. I braced myself up on my elbows, biting my lip as I looked down at his flushed, uncertain face. His eyes half closed as they followed my every move. I held his gaze as I lowered my head again to brush another kiss just below his navel, then lower to his obvious erection. Ooh, we're getting the spiciest one yet. His head dipped back for a moment, pressing against the pillow before he looked up at me again. This time, a slight smile came to his lips. Pleased and more than a little smug. So like him. I sat up a bit and caught the edge of my camisole, lifting it over my head. Heat spiraled through me at the way his gaze wandered down my bare torso. Jack's smile faded, replaced by a look that was darker, ravenous, teeming with desire. Until that moment he allowed me to take the lead, but at long last he reached for me, setting his hands above my waist for a brief space before moving downward. They skimmed over the top of my stomach, fingers just grazing the skin. Our eyes met again, and my stomach tightened, anticipating them slipping lower. He propped himself up to place an open-mouthed kiss to the center of my chest. His lips lingered there a moment above my heart, there we go. Above my heart before his hands found my breasts. Fire swept through me as he took his time to explore every valley, curve, or sensitive peak. His tongue was tracing warm, wet circles against my skin as he dragged my hips against him, sending an electrifying jolt through my body. I moved against him unconsciously, drawing another pleased groan from him. When he fell back against the bed again, he held me close. The enticing feel of his hot skin against mine elicited a soft gasp as our lips met again and again, eager and with savage desperation. The tip of my tongue ran over that scar on his lip before I kissed it softly. He sucked his breath in, letting it out in a shaky exhale that shuddered its way across my mouth. Those lips that were usually twisted into that stupid grin I hated and loved were parted as he breathed rapidly, as if he couldn't catch his breath. I may never have chosen him on my own, but in that moment, I needed him, more than I'd ever needed anything. He shifted his lips to my jaw, my neck, kissing with fevered desire. His hands smoothed their way up my back, then traced a flaming trail back down and around my sides. They slid over my ribs, sending waves of heat to my very center. And then he spent an agonizing amount of time kissing every curve of my body until I thought I'd go mad from the hunger I had for him. At one point our eyes met, the sight of him lighting me on fire. My toes curled into the bedding as he hooked one arm under my knee and pushed himself closer. Jack. My voice came out as a desperate half-moan. He caught my hand as I reached to touch his face. Jack set his lips against my wrist, then pulled me close to him as he carefully rolled us over. My hair brushed against his face as I leaned down and finally gave him another scorching kiss. He let out a pleased groan, tipping his head back as my body shifted against him in the most satisfying way. I found I enjoyed that vantage point very much as I watched him through every moment that unfolded between us. Yay, the hand-holding, there we go. The world faded, and for a while there was nothing else but the urgent tenderness with which he said my name, whispering it with heated breath against my ear. The way his hand found mine, lacing fingers together to hold tight. And the way he finally groaned my name with desperate reverence. It was perfect. He was perfect. And the music stopped. Just abrupt music stop. Later, I was lying against him, head nestled against his shoulder, and he pressed another tender kiss to my forehead.
Wasn't expecting that enthusiastic a welcome home, but I'm not complaining.
Maybe it'll entice you to come home in one piece more often.
Might entice me to never leave again.
Somehow, I get the sense that wouldn't last long.
Probably. But I'm not going anywhere for the rest of today. That's for damn sure.
I propped myself on my elbows, giving him a soft smile as I traced my finger down his cheek. Then I guess we've got to make the most of it.
That we definitely do.
And we did. At least until someone came to interrupt us and say Jack was needed downstairs. But for a while, it was just the two of us. There was no Fisher King, no one trying to steal anyone away, no threats and no darkness. Only Jack's gentle touch and sweet kisses and murmured declarations of affection. And it was the happiest I'd been since I arrived.